What's up, guys? Nice man here. Welcome to Meditations. So, for some time, it was on my mind. What does forever look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the end game here? Part of me speculates that the reason our minds and brains are created, if you will, the way that they are, is because they were made to exist forever. Let me explain that. So, you know how things like get boring if you just do it constantly too much or whatever? And how computers work where it either remembers something or it forgets it, you know what I mean? Our minds are something else. It's like organic, where you can kind of remember something from the past, but it's also easy to forget it. And there might be little things that might bring it up back to your memory, like, oh yeah, I remember going there. Now I remember that after I was reminded by this little thing. You know what I mean? It's almost like it was made or designed to go on forever, because it allows us to almost re-experience things again. Like, we forget about things after just a couple decades, you know what I mean? What about forever? And what a nice thing that is. The fact that if we leave something alone for long enough, you could almost forget it entirely. Especially if we're talking about unlimited amount of time ahead of us, you know what I mean? Decades, hundreds of years, centuries, thousands of years, millennia, and beyond. Like, a lot of us will say, well, I wish I could play that game for the first time again. Or I wish I could hear that song for the first time again. Or I wish I could see that movie for the first time again. You know what I'm saying? It's like our memories were designed for that. Where God was like, this is going to last forever. And in order for perhaps things to remain fresh to an extent, it's going to be made in a way where it can almost forget things. And in some cases, it will forget things. So I guess if you say in this paradigm or whatever, in this existence of foreverness, say that you were in that. And like, you had a friend, right, who lived next door or whatnot. And then they moved away. But you never died. And death was no longer a thing. Like, your friend wasn't going to die either. You were both immortals. Like what presumably the new heaven and new earth is going to be like. Or salvation, or the resurrection of everyone. So say that that friend moves away. It's convenient how if they're important to you, you're always going to remain in contact with them. You know what I mean? Like a century could go by and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go visit so-and-so. I'm going to fly my little jet car over there or something. But then a couple centuries could pass, and then it kind of fades out. Like, if they're not that important to you, they could just kind of fade out. Maybe you'd forget them eventually, but it's just, it's convenient how that's how it could work with family and friends if we're talking about forever. But that's not the point of the video. Here's the point of the video. It seems like we almost have to go through this phase of suffering. You know what I mean? Like how we suffer like the products of the fall. And then death was introduced to us. According to my understanding thus far, that's kind of how it has to be for everyone. I mean, the idea was there was Adam and Eve in the garden, right? There was that choice to be made. They were existing forever. There was no death. So eventually, and perhaps inevitably, as I like to think, I don't really like to think that, but that's just how it is as far as I see it. I've made a video on that. Infinite monkey theorem and the fall of man. But nonetheless, there was a choice to be made, and they made it. And of course, that introduced death and suffering into the whole mix. But it seems like the biblical perspective is that this is all made through Jesus. So it was all in mind, you know what I mean? The whole redemption arc of humanity and all of us individually. Just like the parallels in the Bible of the refiner's fire, right? Like how we're like gold or whatnot. And that's what the suffering and breaking down of our bodies, loss, it all is like some sort of building up of our character and ultimately refines us, I guess. So does the end game entail a time where there is no longer this world? I'm not really sure if that's the case. You know how Lucifer was one of the top angels in heaven, right? And he, of course, back in the days of old, apparently as the story goes, was in the heavenly realms. He didn't experience the fall in those days, maybe thereafter, but he was cast down to the earth. So it's like he began in a non-fallen state, and he never had to go through the suffering, you know what I mean? Like he didn't know what it was to be refreshed. You don't know what good is until you start feeling pain, you know what I mean? You don't know what a nice drink of water is to be refreshed if you never thirst. So he was kind of created in that epitome of goodness and perfection. So, of course, in that state, you take everything for granted. Like the movie Beauty and the Beast. You remember how the Beast was kind of like that? Like he was some king or whatever. But he took it all for granted because he never knew what the other side was like. So it's easy to take it all for granted. What if we were just tossed into this mix as completely immortal, incorruptible beings? It seems like you just wouldn't appreciate anything because you wouldn't know any better. But I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments below. But the point of the video is it seems like when it comes to man, we were destined to experience suffering. And it's interesting because even Jesus experienced suffering, right? Like, what does he say? Father, why have you forsaken me? While he's on the cross. Like he must have felt alone and done for. Killed. So, I mean, even he had to go through it. But here's the point. The Bible in Ecclesiastes, which is a great Old Testament book. Check it out if you haven't yet. There's this one part. I think it's at the beginning. 1:4 or whatever. It says, a generation comes and a generation goes, but the earth remains forever. All right. I can't help but wonder if this thing we're all in right now is really going to go on forever. But we're not going to be a part of it for long from an individual standpoint. Like maybe the new heaven and new earth or salvation or whatever is going to somehow transcend this reality. It's going to be like an added layer to it, you know what I mean? That we could be living in. I don't really know. But, I mean, I'm just kind of taking shots in the dark here to an extent. But, like, I imagine New Heaven, New Earth with Adam and Eve, it was good, right? It was good to have the union with man and woman, and I don't know if that's going away. I mean, in this current iteration, I hope it doesn't. God said it was good, right? Like, it's good to have the experience with a woman, and vice versa. So I can't help but wonder, what is it going to look like hereafter? Are we still going to be able to have kids or whatever? It seems like if we can't, if it's just like done, it'll be like stagnant, you know what I mean? Like there'll be a limitation set to it all. And it makes me wonder, what if it's going to keep expanding forever? Like, even the worldly view kind of presents it as though we're in this sort of universe that is continually expanding, right? So even if you wanted to tie the worldly view into that, it still kind of fits. Because you're like, well, what if there are like infinite planets or something? And we could just continually experience new things while at the same time forgetting old things. Like what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. You could re-experience things again. But even if you didn't re-experience the same things again, you could always experience new things, because what if it's continually being added to? And what if that's part of what God is? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's too much to say. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe that's going too far. Maybe that's what God does, rather, is continually create, and then rest, and then create some more. I don't know. Like, imagine that, just new planets continually being added. Like, I could imagine living forever in that case. Almost. I can't because of the flesh. Oh, somebody's here. I think it's the... It's probably fine. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about the interruption. So where was I again? The living forever thing. And the, like, what if it's like infinite planets? Now, I know some of you aren't in line with that, right? With like the planets and all that and the roundness, if you will. So the same thing applies. The Earth could be, like, say that it's like a plane, right? Maybe with ice walls, like blocking more that's yet to be created or something. I don't know. It could continually expand with the firmament and all that, and the sky above, the whatever below. The plane could continually expand, you know what I mean? So it could be forever. And it could have like massive trees. I mean, it'd be the same concept. Like, say there are other planets, you know what I mean, with different ecosystems and all that. The same concept could apply if, say, rather the Earth is like this plane that can just continue on. And God would be a part of that in the ongoing creation. And just how, like, interesting that would be. But here's the thing. What if it does remain forever, in the sense that people in this earth, in this iteration, are going to continually be living in the fall and reproducing, so that then they can go through that character arc of experiencing suffering and then being redeemed, whether it be through death or not. You know what I mean? And then we are going to be like, I don't know, interdimensional beings within it, who phase in and out of it, and we could be watchers or something, or saints, resurrected saints. I don't really know. It's kind of an interesting thing to entertain, as if this world is just like being recycled over and over again. What if that's essential? Because, like I said, if we were to keep reproducing in a new heaven and new earth and new salvation, unfallen realmed state, then those descendants and children are never going to experience the fallenness. So, I mean, is that okay? Is that going to work? Or are they going to turn into what Lucifer did? You know what I mean? Where he just didn't appreciate anything. I don't. Is that just the natural path to go down? I don't really know. But I mean, I guess there's a chance that the Earth remains forever in its current iteration. But I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I'm guessing not. But I'm just, speculating. But beyond that, I think the takeaways would be the way the mind was created and how we can forget and re-experience things, and perhaps the continual adding to creation as we go on forever to keep things fresh and new. You know what I mean? Like how the Bible says God is making all things new. So it's just kind of interesting, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on these matters. And I will see you guys tomorrow. If you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace be with you.